What up, boys? It's Gaz, and welcome back to the WARFRAME video. So I'm feeling a bit under the weather today, so it's going to be a pretty quick one. We're going to be talking about the Fulmin. This is actually a pretty low master rank weapon that's really good, especially with these new Galvanized mods. It's going to be a Fulmin revisited. I actually haven't made a video on this weapon in multiple years, basically when it first came out. So we'll knock that out and show you how it's working nowadays. Alright, so before we get into it, make sure you're subbed to the channel and all that. Appreciate all the support lately, guys. Really means a lot. Alright, so the Fulmin, it's a primary, I guess you could call it a shotgun. It uses rifle mods, though. And this thing has two different fire modes. The first one is a kind of Arca Plasmor-esque shot, where it fires off an energy projectile that will punch through enemies. It's got 3 meters of innate punch through on enemy bodies. And it's actually silent. So the primary shot right here, silent. You can use this for stealth missions, technically, if you don't want to alert anything. And it's got very high crit chance at 30%, a 2.2 multiplier. Not great damage fall off, 10 to 20. Keep in mind there's mods that can increase the fall off of that. 2.17 fire rate, so pretty low, but that's actually good for certain mods we'll be talking about later. 60 round magazine, and the primary shot takes 10 bullets per shot. 1 second reload. Keep in mind this is a battery charged infinite ammo weapon, so that's actually recharge delay. How long it takes before it starts recharging the magazine. And we've got 16% status chance, with the damage types of the primary shot being impact and electric. And also something to keep in mind is that within 9 meters, this primary shot has a guaranteed impact proc. This weapon's only MR8, so that's a lot of good, honestly, that's a lot of good things for an MR8 weapon. You're looking at this thing right before the Ignis Wraith, and I'd say the Ignis Wraith is really, really good. This thing is earlier than Ignis Wraith and potentially has better damage potential in some situations. We've got the secondary fire as well as the full auto mode. You have to switch between the two. It's got slightly lower crit chance with a little bit better crit multiplier. And we've got 9.3 fire rate. It's full auto basically with 10% status chance and puncture in electric, not impact electric. The guaranteed impact proc is not on the secondary fire. Something also to keep in mind is that the primary shot has no headshot multiplier. So let's just fire it off a little bit here. So this is the primary shot. It's technically silent even though it makes a lot of noise. And like I said, 3 meters of punch through. The Arca Plasmor has infinite punch through on enemy bodies. This one actually has only 3 meters. So let's just compare this to the Tenant Arca Plasmor, which I'm sure a lot of people would like to see. And we're actually looking at a lot lower base damage, but you know, better crit stats for sure. Also about half the status chance. So we've got, this is not counting the elemental bonus from the Tenant version either, so this is going to be looking at like over 1,000 base damage. So that the Tenant Arca Plasma will probably have about double the base damage-ish of the Fulmin at the end of the day. So, you know, maybe you would rather just have that, but this is technically silent. It uses rifle mods, so there's niche situations like this internal bleeding mod. Like I said, we have guaranteed impact procs, so this is really good. This is actually better than Hunter Munitions on this weapon specifically in most situations. Now keep in mind, like I said, this will not work on the auto fire mode, but we're not really focusing on the auto fire mode a lot of the time because that's not AoE, it's single target. So this is a viral Hunter Munitions build, and then since we have built-in electric, it's viral electric Hunter Munitions with impact. So you're getting basically 4 procs. You're getting viral, electric, impact, and slash from internal bleeding. So we've got Galvanized Aptitude giving us a bunch of extra damage. Galvanized Chamber, just run this you have it. Critical delay. You technically could run Point Strike, and you'll still have low enough fire rate to get the doubled effect from internal bleeding, because you need to have under 2.5 fire rate. Since the Fulmin is 2.17, you're actually fine. But I'm going to go with critical delay just for increased crit chance. And terminal velocity to increase our projectile flight speed by a good amount. You could technically run vigilante supplies for increased crits, but it's not necessary really. It's honestly a good personal preference. I do like to have the increased range on this. We've also got Primary Merciless for increased damage, and Bane of the Grenier. Lots of stuff. All right, so let's show it in the Simulacrum. We're going to kill some butchers first. And keep in mind, this is with Combat Discipline and Arcade Avenger. Check out some previous videos to see about how that works. So we're getting increased crit chance, going to 135. And with no Riven, we're getting about 87,000 slash procs. You know, with no headshot multiplier. So, you know, pretty good, pretty good. You could definitely like buff it up a little bit. I have Eclipse on here, so soon we could definitely use that if we felt like it. And keep in mind, we have viral. There's a 341,000 with no Riven. 345. We have viral on our weapon. We've also got a Panzerwolf giving us increased damage from those viral procs. You could also go for a corrosive build, but the funny thing about the corrosive build is that I'd probably say you still keep internal bleeding on here, because internal bleeding is just such a staple mod on this weapon. Let's do it without the Panzerwolf now, even though I'd recommend running a Panzerwolf in Steel Path missions because of the survivability and the actual viral procs it provides. So we get all those Merciless stacks, and it's still a very easy 300,000 damage one-shot on these Exo Guckstrag officers. What are they actually called? Gokstad officers. We will never pronounce anything correctly on this channel, I'll just let you know that. It's just how it is. So yeah, it looks pretty good there, AoE one-shots. The electric proc actually gives us a nice little bump in damage there because we're getting more procs there. Now let's show the corrosive build. Now like I said, even though I know corrosive is not really good with slash, internal bleeding is so good on here that I'm going to go with it. We've got serration just for more upfront damage. You could definitely run other mods in this slot. You could run maybe bladed rounds. You could run possibly amalgam serration if you felt like it. Other things like that. But this build works great. You can even technically run galvanized scope, but keep in mind this is not proc off of slash procs. Only procs off of base damage kills. And since we got base electric, we can get corrosive very easily here. And we'll jump into some gameplay after this. So yeah, overall, like the Fulmin, it was probably my favorite weapon when it first came out. This is actually the signature weapon of Wisp, the Wisp Warframe. There was our very low chance to not proc slash there. It's like 70% chance to proc slash within 9 meters with this thing. So it's very likely that you'll get a big slash proc. Keep in mind, that's per projectile too. So if we were to go and do something that I usually do, like we'll show in the gameplay footage right here, we're going to actually run Vigilante mods in these slots. So we're going to put Vigilante Pursuit here for increased enemy radar and increased crit chance, or crit elevation, I guess. We've got Avenger. This can get red crits now. So let's go back to the viral internal bleeding build, and let's just see how it goes. I do think this thing is pretty fun. Like I said, not as good as back in the day, because it used to have really crazy rivens back in the day. It's actually at 0.65 disposition nowadays. It's still good. Like, it doesn't even need a riven to honestly like be juicy. There's a red crit right there. 379,000 slash proc with no riven at all, guys. So honestly, like the rivens have been nerfed so much, it might not be worth it a lot of the time. I've got a pretty good riven of multi-shot damage, crit chance minus impact, and I'm not really sure where I put it as far as mod slots are concerned. So let's get in some gameplay here, and we can talk about its grade. So here's the riven, by the way. 96% crit chance. I don't even know if I would run this, honestly. I really don't know. We'll talk about that later, though. Okay, so getting into the gameplay. This is Steel Path with the Vigilante mods and all that, and we do fight an Acolyte with a Viral Electric build. Now, here's the thing. Like I said, this is about half the base damage of the Tenant Archiplasmor, and that's not even counting a 60% roll. I'd say even with a 25% roll, you're looking at basically double the base damage of the Tenant Archiplasmor. But like I said, this thing can use internal bleeding. By the way, internal bleeding, if you don't know where it comes from Corpus Railjack bonus objectives. Not sure which planet it's on. I want to say it's on the mid-tier planets, but don't quote me on that one. The Tenant Archiplasmor and shotguns in general, one of their biggest problems is they don't have a mod that's the Band-Aid Impact Procs mod. They don't have hemorrhage, they don't have internal bleeding. This thing basically feels like an Archiplasmor, but it can run the rifle mod that makes impact not as trash as it usually is. I really wish they would do a puncture and impact rework, but this is where we are right now, where puncture and impact rework is probably not going to ever happen, honestly. So, yeah, this is what you get. But yeah, this is good. The width of the projectile, I want to say, on this thing is much smaller than the Archiplasmor, because I feel like that's a fair comparison to compare this to the Tenant Archiplasmor, as it's like, they're very similar weapons. But also keep in mind, you can get this thing pretty easily. The blueprint comes from the market. It's like really easy to build. Takes like 2 argon crystals, some hexanon, and nothing too out of the ordinary. And like I said, Wisp can actually switch between fire modes much easier and quicker. So I'd say overall, pretty good weapon, reliable. It's not a shotgun, which it feels like a shotgun. But yeah, good mob clearing, above average mob clearing. I wouldn't call it excellent because of the width of the projectile, the damage distance this thing can fire at. With the terminal velocity mod, it's only looking at 32 meters for minimal damage and 16 for maximum damage. So Plasmor is better if you are higher level, but this has situations where I'd still use it. Like I said, it probably would scale a little bit better in some situations than the Plasmor because of those guaranteed nearly guaranteed slash procs. So yeah, good mob clearing, not the best. Acolyte speed is B, above average. It's not as exciting as it was back in the day. Back in the day, this weapon was so exciting, but here we are with much more exciting weapons sitting around, like the Tsar, the Brahma, stuff like that. The bouncy shot, Plasmor, which I'll probably make a new revisited video on eventually too, because they fixed the galvanized mod. It's not working on it, and it's pretty juicy now. So Acolyte speed B. You could probably kill him in about 2 shots if you really nail him with the projectiles. But I mean, right here. Now here's the reason I call this B and not just average or bad. Since it's doing singular big slash procs and not like weapons like the Phantasma or the Convectrix or whatever, where it's lots of small slash procs, the slash procs are actually pretty effective against the Acolyte. And the reason we didn't insta-kill him here is because they put up that mag bubble and I couldn't even see where they were for a while. I had to be very careful about that mag bubble from that Acolyte, whatever that one's called. So yeah, pretty good there. Status potential, C, might be more like a C plus or a B minus. So we're looking at the guaranteed impact procs within 9 meters. That's going to be basically guaranteeing a slash proc to 70% of the time. And we've also got for this build, viral and electric. So that's 4 total status effects. And if you were to like min-max further and you're running a Panzerwolf Phyla, you'd probably go with corrosive and internal bleeding. So that'd be potentially 5, because the Panzerwolf Phyla is going to be viral proc anything already. So yeah, overall, guys, I definitely would recommend it to you. I'd say it is a good weapon. It's definitely a nostalgic favorite of mine, at least, because I think that the update this weapon came out in was one of the best updates the game's ever had. The Jovian Concord, we got Wisp, we got Disruption added to that update. It's just nostalgia, and then here's us just pumping Eclipse for even more damage. You can hit millions of damage slash procs if you're using Eclipse, but that's just a little bit, that's not really fairly judging a weapon, I'd say, if you're using Eclipse with high power strength and debuffing and all that stuff. But, you technically can do that. I could one-shot level 10,000 enemies with the Mark 1 bow if I really wanted to with enough buffs. So, either way, guys, hopefully you found that video helpful. I'll see you next time, and thanks for all the support. Take it easy. Peace.